folks? Welcome to an episode of the Artenders with Mac and Dan. I'm Dan. He is Mac.
Howdy.
Some quick things on the docket. Mac, you have earned yourself a penalty point from the episode of Dark Season 3. It is because you said outright that Lisa Vicari and Lewis Hoffman are dating. There are some rumors and speculation, but it was addressed as such a fact when there is absolutely no confirmation, and because you did not put the sort of hat on top of it of reckless speculation, then it's just dangerous.
It's just slander.
It is just slander. You're contributing to the problem that we face as humankind.
Now, I apologize. First and foremost, not to you, Danny,
it's being
but
blocked by the Globe.
But to Lisa,
work.
Yeah. Look, I'm not a cinematographer.
He's trying desperately not to hold the mic. Do you want me to hold it and I'll be the show girl?
Run up there.
Okay, and for the auditory audience, I am holding up the penalty point counter.
I apologize first and foremost, not to Danny, but or to our listener, but to Senior Hoffman, Lewis Hoffman.
Lewis Hoffman. Yeah, Lewis Hoffman. Yeah.
Hopefully pronounced right.
Yeah.
And Lisa Vicari.
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 Yeah, sure.
Vicari. I can spell it.
Yes.
Don't know how it's said.
That's fine.
Sorry
Mac,
to them.
Yeah. Don't look up. Is
yes,
what
sir.
we are we're reviewing for this week. It is a movie written and directed by Adam McKay. It's also written by one other individual, and I foolishly did not have the IMDb pulled up because I am a gosh darn doodly rookie.
David Sirota.
Thank you so much for covering my ass.
I got you, bud.
Even though it was obvious I was filibustering.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just on timer.
It is a movie that came out both in theaters as well as it is a Netflix film that came out towards the end of the year 2021. And so at the end of the Dark Season 3 episode, I said that it is a movie that is about COVID, but it's written before COVID. Let me explain, because I still stand by that statement.
Yeah.
Let me explain. The inception of the writing of this film was the as Adam McKay has said, was the idea behind it was oh my god, I'm flubbing all over the place.
You're okay.
I'm running out of steam, running out of gas.
Interested.
Thank you. But thanks that you're interested.
Yeah, I'm still into it.
The movie is actually about climate change. It is a satirical piece starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence about climate change and two scientists in the context of this film trying to tell the universe, essentially the rest of the planet Earth, hey, there's a comet coming in 6 months. We're all gonna die unless we don't do something about it. That is going to collide with the Earth. It's bigger than the one that killed the dinosaurs. We need to do something about it. And so the film primarily follows them to their journey throughout trying to share that message and how it's received and how the world at large deals with that problem. And so the idea behind it was that it's supposed to be analogous to climate change, how there are multiple scientists who are concerned with global warming and the climate change that we are experiencing on the face of this earth, and how that is going to affect the ecosystem and even the way that we live our lives. Largely it boils down to literally like ice caps, melting, and then like the rising of the water, the surface water on Earth. So this movie was written for that. And then production was halted because of COVID. And what was also really funny about this film was they even had to cut things from the film because they actually happen during COVID times.
I see. Really? So it's like they were too on the nose, and they felt like it would be low-hanging fruit if they kept it.
Exactly. So
Louise.
what happened to this film is
that actually gives it a lot more merit, I think.
Is that it became a film without, anybody's choice per se about COVID. And so the biggest example was for example, when President Orlean, who's played by Meryl Streep, which is just the funniest thing.
Yeah.
And she finally comes around. This is like halfway through the movie. She finally comes around and agrees, okay, we are going to destroy this comet. We're going to get everybody together. We're going to destroy this comet. And the original writing of the script had her explain that they had to put a bill through the House and Senate, and it was only agreed upon partially because there was a like a tax relief benefit for the 1%.
Yeah.
As like a funny little thing of like they couldn't get this passed because the top 1% of like wealthy people, like wanted it that way and had all the power. And that is something that happened during COVID with the COVID relief bill. That there was a lot of tax relief for the 1%. And so that was cut from the film because that would be way too on the nose.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how this film sort of morphed its identity because of COVID, and also in turn because it's not really trying to be about COVID. I think it's probably one of, if not the most successful pieces of media that is about COVID.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you and I, Mac, have seen so many pieces of theater and plays over Zoom, and it's just some of the worst stuff you can. There's like literally just one thing out of multiple that I can think of that it's like, okay, that's decent because it was made in mind for Zoom as opposed to like, we're going to do a reading. Piece? This was a piece that was, directed by a former professor of ours that had Zoom and the interactivity of Zoom in mind, as opposed to as opposed to like a play reading being done over Zoom. But then
that was good.
What really succeeded about this film was that like it wasn't necessarily about that, and rather it was about the humanity that was going on beneath that, and it wasn't through the apparatus that was COVID or Zoom. It was through the apparatus that was like a comet was facing, hurling itself towards Earth, and so then what it also was heightened stakes for these characters.
Yeah, sure. The funny thing that I find is that there are actually quite a few people that I know that did not particularly like this movie.
Yeah.
Because they felt like it was too on the nose. Like they didn't know anything about the pre-production. Yeah. And they didn't know that it was something that happened before COVID. They really thought that it was a movie that was made for COVID during COVID. And it was just like, okay, I don't really want to see a COVID piece.
Yeah, if you told us that, we would believe you. Yeah, totally.
Now, like that is a note that you could give to, or a review you could give to Inside by Bo Burnham, for instance, that like maybe it's a little too much COVID and I don't really want to deal with that right now. And there are lots of people that don't want to deal with those things, and I get that. But it's funny to think that people are giving that note to a movie that was not even made when COVID existed,
or not even like thought
written.
of.
Right.
Because if I'm not mistaken too, like this film had been in a sort of development hell for a while before it was even picked up by Netflix. Like this script, at least the idea of the script has been floating around for years.
Funny to think that producers had such a hard time picking it up, or production companies had such a hard time picking it up, when it clearly sat pretty fucking well with the actors. They got an insane cast.
So with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence, and then there's also Meryl Streep, and
Mark
there's
Rylance.
Jonah Hill. Mark Rylance is just the strangest fellow in the film. Cate Blanchett,
I forgot about Cate Blanchett.
It, and Tyler Perry is in it.
Yeah.
It is a star-studded cast.
Yeah.
And crazily so. Chris Evans is also in it as a cameo. Oh, this is a revelation for Mac. This is a discovery, active discovery. I've just revealed something to him. He is the film director that they like towards the end of the movie, that he's in sunglasses and a beanie and he has a beard, and they interview him for the film that's like about the comic
I remember
down.
that now. Yes.
And that is Chris Evans, only because I recognized his voice, and I've heard that voice too many times to be like, wait
hilarious.
a second.
I did not even know that. That is so funny. But yeah, the movie is something that does feel like it's very clearly made for COVID, but it actually makes me feel really good to know that it wasn't. And another big thing, I was talking to Danny before we started this podcast, because both of us were a little nervous to take it on. And I want to get your reasons why in a second, but
and we both liked it. Like,
Yeah.
let's get
Well,
that.
that was kind
out
of what
there.
made me nervous about it, is because I liked it a lot.
It's a lot
and
harder
then
to have takes about things you like.
there's that, but then also like I had 3 conversations back to back to back with people that really didn't like it, and every single
Oh.
time I got kind of defensive, but like I didn't really know how to articulate myself.
Yeah.
And so I felt bad because it was just like, I don't know, I just liked it, you know?
Well, let's discuss that then. That's a good segue. What were some of the complaints that you heard in regards to this film? Because I mean, I haven't talked to anybody personally about this film quite yet that have seen this film.
Yeah.
I've heard a few sort of, things that people didn't like, but I'm curious about like the specific interactions that you received in regards to things that were not received well from this film.
Right. So the first thing is that it feels too in your face. A lot of people said a similar thing for I don't know if you've seen the movie Get Out.
Yes.
A lot of people that I know that have seen Get Out, I loved Get Out. But there are quite a few people that I know that felt like it would have been better if the racial themes were a little more subtle, or maybe revealed later in the movie, because then like it just feels preachy after a while, which like, I kind of get that, but at the same time I am so in love with the concept that I don't care.
Yeah, a major complaint that I heard, and it's kind of similar in that vein, is that it's too clear and too on the nose per se what the storytellers want to say at like the beginning of the film.
Right, and it
even though it's a satire,
it's a great story.
Yeah.
And it's done expertly. It's done
tragically beautiful.
Yeah, no, it really is.
At moments, and
It's just
laugh out loud funny.
And the things they're trying to say are cool. It's just that because they're saying them so early, then I feel like they're just saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I get those complaints, but
yeah.
I think what's a little different for me is that my expectations were just in a dramatically different place. And I think the actors' expectations were in a different place as well, because I know a lot of Adam McKay movies. Yeah. Like, I'm really, really comfortable and familiar with Adam McKay. And so whenever I watch Adam McKay, really the only drama that I can think of that I attest to him is The Big Short, which I would call more a thriller than a drama. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, he's just made such insane, over-the-top, goofy satire.
But comedies in general.
Just
too.
comedy.
I mean,
yeah.
Step Brothers and Talladega Nights.
Which are some of my favorite, like, childhood movies. Like, I grew up on those movies. Like, my teen years, my sense of humor was formed by some of those movies. And The Other Guys. Yeah. I forgot that Will Ferrell vehicle that tanked.
I couldn't.
Casa de mi Padre. Just trash, but that's what I expect whenever I step into an Adam McKay movie. And so whenever I see Don't Look Up, I'm not expecting something high art. I'm expecting to just kind of have a good time. Yeah. And I had a really fucking good time.
Well, yeah, and it's something that shifted with The Big Short, and then furthermore with Vice, when he directed those films, of like, there was a shift of, some people refer to, those two films and Don't Look Up as the What the F is Going On trilogy, of just like shit hitting
that
the
makes
fan
sense to me. That makes sense to me.
Points. And, but like, because I think there are some pacing things that you sort of briefly alluded to, right? So what we have is like halfway through this film as well, when it's the first attempt to like destroy the comet. Turns out the rocket turns around, which is the funniest shot.
Oh my god, yeah.
One of the funniest
because they
shots
figure
in the
out
film.
like as the rocket is midair that there are precious materials that need to be mined on the meteor,
because they have to satisfy the 1% and a gigantic donor of the president who owns a phone company that basically runs
Apple.
The world.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever, Apple, it could be just anything that you can use for that. But, and which is then also followed up with a very just funny snippet of some guy saying, it looks like the rocket's turning around, and the guy next to him saying, no, it looks like a course correction. I was in the military.
Yeah, that's
like,
so
no,
good.
No, it's turning around. And that's like a consistent theme of this movie as well. But back to the note of pacing.
Yeah.
We have like, a super high point in stakes and like accomplishment and a sort of like climax, right?
Yeah.
At the literal middle point of the film.
Yeah.
And so then you have another hour and a half ish, right afterwards.
Yeah.
And so then it's tricky because what we have then is the characters immediately have to like go and tell the president, right? As opposed to like at the beginning of the film, right? With
Right.
Leonardo DiCaprio's character and Jennifer Lawrence's character and Rob Morgan's character. Shout out to gold medal winner Rob Morgan in this film.
Wow.
And so
you just dropped that.
Because
okay.
they put that like that segment of the film trying to destroy the comet in the dead center. I'm really bad in this episode. Anyways.
No, you're okay. You're fine.
No, I like admitting to it because I feel like it's giving a little peek behind the curtain. It forces the characters to sort of get to the task at hand, right? To cross the threshold much earlier in the film as opposed to like slowly setting up, right? Because they probably meet the president like 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes into the film. Like it doesn't take long.
No.
At all, or maybe it does take a little bit long, but like the action to go meet the president rather does not take long. And so we don't see a lot of the journey, too much of like what are their present psyches going through as I look up the character names. What are they like psychologically going through, and how are they actually going to deal with that in the day to day? But instead they just rush to going to meet the president to get like the plot of the film going, even though I found the best part of the film to be like the plot, quote unquote, of the characters, the development of the characters. Of course, since it's a satire and how it's constructed, you need the plot of the film, but definitely the most enriching and gratifying and beautiful part were the characters.
Now, the thing that's also kind of limiting about the way that Adam McKay has made this, like you were saying, what the fuck is going on trilogy, is that what's beautiful about them is that they are based in reality. They're very possible. All of them are very possible movies or based on real event movies, right?
Yeah.
Now, although a cool concept and a very good move, at the same time, it is a little limiting because they are based in reality. That also messes with the order of events and like you're talking about the pacing specifically because kind of the Big Short had a very similar issue like you were talking about, where it had another great Adam McKay movie, but it got me stressed in the first 45 minutes, and then I'm stressed a little too early because the movie is such a long one that I'm now just tired of being stressed. Like after hour 45 or something, or like 2 hours, I still have 30 minutes of the movie left, and I'm like, I'm just kind of tired. Like I kind of want to be done with this.
It's exhausting.
It really is exhausting. Yeah. Like being on the edge of your seat. Yeah. I need to either be told to relax for a moment or told to get stressed way later.
Because the movie was trying so quickly to get to the meat of it.
And the problem with
letting it cook.
The Big Short is that they have real life events to tell you.
Yeah.
And so because obviously whenever you look at a story like that and you see that so much crazy shit happened in 2008, you want to keep all of it, duh. But that's also kind of what limited it. In the same way, Don't Look Up, they try really, really hard to make sure that the order of events, the way that the scientists go about trying to tell the public that this meteor is coming to crash into Earth, is a very realistic one. Like they do a really good job of making it as real as possible. But that's kind of the problem. Like, I wish that they didn't have to go to the president first. I wish that they maybe could have told some of, like, the groundlings first. You know what I mean? Yeah. I wish that we would have gotten Timothée Chalamet's character way earlier. Like, I think that is a really funny one. And it would have been interesting to see, like, maybe they try to tell a higher up, and then they get turned away, and so they have to start just, like, campaigns on their own, like, grassroots campaigns to try and get people to convince people, because that's essentially what it turns into at the end anyways. Yeah. Is that they're told, like, everyone's like they're insane, and then they have to by themselves go and and figure out how to
then
publicize.
it sort of becomes a parallel to the beginning of like we are starting small again, and we have to grow,
and I wish that it would have
succeed this time.
Started small and grew, rather than getting the big shit first, and then they kind of meander around, and then I'm left feeling like, one, I'm tired, and two, I don't care nearly as much as I cared like whenever you went and met the actual president, and you had some of the funniest scenes in the movie with Jonah Hill and Jennifer Lawrence. Like, those scenes were hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought. And so it was I think that it was kind of poorly placed. But the debate that you can make to that, the counter argument is, well, that's how it would actually happen.
Yeah, and also like the movie's not about that.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Which it's a tricky thing, and like it doesn't necessarily mean satires are invincible from criticism, right?
Mhm.
I mean, always my favorite example of satire is a musical called You're in Town. Mac is reeling. And it is a musical about
this is like one of our first bonding points
That's
in
true.
our friendship.
Because we both did the musical You're in Town in high school. And what You're in Town is about is, imagine if like the world was really, really low on water, so you had to go pay money to pee. And that's the concept of the entire
is
thing.
actually genius. Like,
It's
I
really
love that musical.
Conceptually,
in
it's
concept.
hilarious.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
And so, but like, it's not like You're in Town is perfect, like storytelling wise, you know, like we were able to criticize it, even though it is a satirical piece that sort of quasi is not supposed to be taken too seriously, but is supposed to be taken seriously in the sense of its themes, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't look too hard at the story. Look harder at what the story is trying to say.
And don't look up.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, no, I actually really admire that style of movie making. Like, and that's also another reason. Like, some of my favorite movies are movies that are intended to be fun watches.
Yeah.
That also have really powerful themes near the end.
But the difference is that like satires aren't really done anymore for the most part. Like, I'm having trouble, at least in my mind, like trying to think of like a satire that was, first of all, good recently. You know, like Swing Vote. Like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that movie. Was that Galifianakis, that movie?
This is no, this was I think Swing Vote was Kevin Costner. It's the one.
Oh,
where
you're right. Well,
Zach
Galifianakis it's a perfect
was in
tie.
a different movie. Yeah. But I mean, but like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it is still perfectly fine to criticize these movies and the stories that they tell, because at the end of the day, the stories is what we have. That even though the theme is much more important than the story itself, it also goes to show, wow, we don't really do satires anymore, and also goes to show that a lot of storytellers like to tell their stories just not satirically, but still have themes be very important and themes be the forefront. But not have to like sometimes sacrifice their story here and there in order for the message. Does that make sense? Because I think that's I don't necessarily feel this way, but I think it is a potential landing point for somebody to say in regards to Don't Look Up, that this story makes sacrifices for the sake of its theme. You know, with that sort of being like how over the top, and at the same time how great, but also how over the top and how absurd the president and her son, who is also her chief of staff, is. You know?
Yeah. What did you think of the? Because a lot of people have taken on the Trump card, like they've
literally.
Yeah, they've tried really, really hard to tackle Trump as a character or as a topic, right? How do you think they did with Meryl Streep and Jonah Hill, and how do you think that they? Because that was maybe the only part of the movie that I was just like, man, you are really going for Okay, you're going for Trump.
I
Okay.
think it works in a vacuum, right? So,
Okay.
like, if we looked at those scenes just by themselves, I think they are genuinely funny and great scenes.
Uh-huh.
As something as simple as Jonah Hill saying at a not pep rally, but at a rally, excuse me,
Yeah.
pep rallies for high school.
Pep rally. At an assembly.
At an assembly, sure. And and he says, "Man, if she wasn't my mom, woo!" Like something like that's funny as hell,
That's
right?
super funny.
And so then, even though they're pulling out in more ways than one, the Trump card, like I think in a vacuum, it works really well, and I think it's very, very funny. Because then it also goes to show, people can actually be that absurd. But then at the same time is like, but are people actually that absurd? Something as small and is constantly revisited in the film, where the military official, I just don't have the
okay, it's
names
okay.
for like any characters in this film.
They went very quickly.
Yes, but the military official
The white guy?
in this film, yeah, who was played by Paul Guilfoyle. I hit the mic. That's a goddamn penalty. Paul Guilfoyle plays General Themes, and something as simple as like he brings back a couple bottles of water and like Cheez-Its, and he says it's $10, and they find out later that no, that just came from a fridge, and he was just trying to swindle $10 out of everybody, even though
So funny.
he like probably has a gigantic position and makes at least $100,000 a year. Why is he trying to swindle?
Well, the even funnier part is the fact that Jennifer Lawrence doesn't give it up. Like the entire movie.
Well, because how could
death,
you?
She's like,
imagine if you were put in that situation. I would never give that up.
yeah.
I would
I'm just
think about that
confused.
every day for the rest of my life.
Well, also, it's just fucked up to think like that guy's in such a position of power in this country, and he clearly did that as a power play.
Yes, and that is
That's
a comedic,
hilarious.
and that's a comedic moment that
Yeah.
I think works in the human sense as well. Like it's absurd, but I can totally see some motherfucker doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's more difficult to imagine the president doing those things, but then also,
Yeah, right.
it's
So
difficult to assess.
in that way, I would like to talk about the potential for this movie to age, but only whenever we come back after a word from our sponsor.
All right. Yeah, there it is. Jesus Christ.
All right,
We're on slow-mo.
hard to we are gonna start. We're starting off this segment with a little bit of espresso
Espresso, yes.
because we just had a hard time.
This is not the highest quality of work that we have. We're tired.
Yeah.
Peeking behind the curtain once again. We're
And
tired.
Let me tell you, the rest of this episode after this espresso, and especially the following episode of recording tonight, Outer Wilds, is going to be mind-boggling.
Did I close my fridge?
You should go check that. Yeah, I think you did. I think that's
Visual joke.
Yeah.
Theater of the mind.
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna do the podcast for myself. So the thing that I wanted to make clear in this segment was I think this movie is going to age phenomenal. Was it good?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
good.
fridge was closed.
Okay. I think this movie is going to age phenomenally. I think
Okay.
that once we are out of the Trump era, this could be applied to any president. It's just it kind of hits you over the head right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
I think in
I'm with
about
you there.
10 years, once we have a new, fresh generation of people that don't really think about Trump all that often, that's going to be a hotbed for comedy. And then also, like, just once we're out of COVID, like, whenever it's not... Because I agree that there are parts of this movie that feel like they hit you over the head with the COVID themes.
Uh-huh.
But now knowing, or ever since you mentioned that it wasn't a movie that was written to do that...
Yeah.
I've started thinking more and more about the movie, and I think you're right. Like it would have been a really funny movie, and I wish that it was a movie that was released without COVID having been a thing.
Yeah.
Because it would have been, I think, a lot funnier or a lot easier received, you know?
I think people are paying more attention to it now, though, because of COVID.
True, very true.
You know?
Well, also,
yes.
Okay, good.
It's Adam McKay
Right,
and
Leonardo
all these
DiCaprio and all the
stars
people,
that are
yeah.
in it. Like, of course, like that is always going to help, obviously. But I think part of it too is that we're all hunkered down, you know, and along with this movie just generally being anticipated and us being hunkered down, like it's on Netflix and like it's about an impending thing, and because it's also partially about like science and trying to get the message out there, and because so much of what we've been going through currently in America as a country with so many people just not trusting science, then it's like it's perfectly topical, you know? And I think is to the movie's benefit because it was like one of, if not the like most watched thing ever for Netflix at its release.
Don't Look Up?
Yes. I'm gonna have to do some research on that.
Please feel free to look that up. But
then
Actually,
also
I'll do
like
that.
along with that, like I don't even know where I was going, but the point is that is that there was a lot of reasons for this film to succeed now, and I think yes, I agree, it does bat you over the head with the themes that it's trying to say. But and like the execution of said themes and the execution of its story, but I 100% agree with you that in the end, in the long run, that we are going to look back at this film and like remember it as being one thing, but a future generation may look at it differently. Do you have any sort of
Okay,
findings?
this is what I got. The film, written and directed by the Big Short filmmaker Adam McKay, was watched for 152 million hours globally between December 27th and January 6th, a record-breaking amount for the streamer, according to Deadline. I don't know if they mean streamer as in Netflix or streamer as in Adam McKay. But I would not be shocked.
Yeah. I think it's safe to say Netflix. I don't think we need to put the reckless speculation sort of, boop on it.
That Netflix, this is probably one of the biggest things they've ever released.
And so I think
also perfect time too. This was my famous Christmas movie.
Wow.
Yeah, we
Hold
watched
on.
this shit
Does your family watch a Christmas or just like a movie
every single year? And this is the thing. It actually kind of this pissed me off.
Oh.
So about 15 years ago, we started this tradition. 15 years ago, we started a tradition where every single Christmas, because we always make fun of my mom because she doesn't like cook a whole lot, and so we always called her like the best like heater upper in the world. Every single time she was like, "But I'm a good cook, right?" We were like, "You're the best heater upper in the world. That microwave is banging." And we thought that was really funny. So she got offended one Christmas, and we went to Denny's for Christmas breakfast, and then went and saw a movie, and that was like our Christmas tradition ever since then.
Your Texas dialect just creeped in out of nowhere.
Oh shit!
It was
probably the memories of my mom.
DENNY''S, right? That chain of restaurants that's similar to IHOP, right?
Denny's.
You said Denny's.
I said
that was
Denny's.
fascinating.
Denny's.
Yeah, Denny's.
I also want to give a gold medal to Danny LaBelle real quick. My gold medal's going to Danny.
What a train wreck!
LaBelle.
This is such
no. This
wreck.
is slowly becoming my favorite episode we've ever done.
Let's crash
this
this
is what
bird.
I always wanted the show to be. You don't know that.
That's true. Oh God, how much I have to play defense against you. It's
I want to
insane.
bring it down at all times. That I want to give you the gold medal for this Espresso. It's so good, man. It's really hitting the spot.
A little bit of sugar.
Oh,
I know it's really doing us favors.
Is this cane sugar?
It's raw. I think it's raw sugar. It's
raw
raw
sugar in the
no,
raw.
excuse me. It is brown sugar. It's brown sugar.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, the brown sugar. Oh, Was brown sugar your nickname in high school?
So I think what was beautiful about this film was it's also terrifying.
Yeah.
It's a scary film.
Yeah.
That even though it was funny in moments, even though it was dramatic in moments, that the movie still found its way to be terrifying in its own way.
Oh yeah.
And I think one of the best things structurally about this film was the tangibly extremely high stakes that everybody was going through What happened? What happened? What did I do?
just got. It was the fact, like, I knew what was going through your mind just now. You were talking, you looked down the timer, you saw 21 minutes left, and I saw on your face, I saw you go, that's a lot more time than I thought. Am I wrong? That's exactly what the fuck. I know it. And you know how I know it? Because I had the same damn thought.
Okay, stop.
I looked at it and I was like, God damn.
What? Okay,
We have
stop.
20 minutes.
Stop. Okay, fine. Let's. You see that elephant in the room? Let's talk about it. Why are we having a tough time discussing this film?
It's so funny, though.
Why are we
It's killing me.
But, like, this is a good film.
No, it's fantastic.
So
Can I tell you what it honestly is?
What?
This is so sad. We need to address it. You're right. We need to address it. And this
We
is
should have
just
addressed it in the
truth.
first part. This is on us. We try to make a good episode, and we were
this is
lying
the
to
thing.
ourselves.
I'm actually really happy with this because, like, this is the most honest I think we've ever been with the audience. This is, like, number one most honest we've ever been, and this is the truth. I hope you can agree with me. This movie really, really was very good.
Yeah.
And any other time, this would have been a pretty easy recording session, right?
Sure. Yeah.
What's making this so difficult is, I'm just going to say it, Outer Wilds was so fucking good. It was so good, I can't stop thinking about it. And the fact that I have to talk about Don't Look Up is difficult.
So Outer Wilds is a video game that Mac and I were playing for our sleeper pick, and you see this is a double feature Tuesday that we're recording on a Monday, and so after this we're going to record our Outer Wilds episode.
And literally since the moment I came in the room, like, the only thing that we've been talking about is just like, I'm really worried about this Don't Look Up episode because Outer Wilds was so good. I really just want to talk about Outer Wilds.
And not to say that Don't Look Up wasn't good, but
No, it
because
really
Outer
was.
Wilds was spectacular.
Right. Okay, so what about Don't Look Up was like, really, was there anything that you'd steal from it, I guess is my question. Is there anything that you would take from it that you were like, you know what? That's something that I wish that I could do that I want to try in the future.
I think structurally a couple of things. It's the extremely high stakes for the characters. It is, which makes just a wonderful breeding ground for crazy action to occur that is totally 100% motivated and makes sense for the people that are involved in that situation. That's a big thing, right? If you can make your characters live in these crazy stakes of the moment, then, like, that's going to breed the most beautiful of conflict and action. What happened? Why are you chuckling like a madman?
I just can't stop thinking about the last 5 minutes. Yes, but no, I completely agree. That but do you think that is like a testament to satire or to the movie that Adam McKay wrote?
I think it's a little bit of both, right?
I think so too. I think that more than for me, whenever I'm watching this movie, it's less me looking at the movie and thinking to myself, man, I wish that I could write something like Adam McKay. It's more, I miss satire, and I really want to try that.
Okay, I think I talked about it briefly in the first part, and I think I'm finally coming around on what I was trying to say, is that conceptually, this isn't a very complex movie. A comet's coming to hit Earth. A couple of scientists need to let everybody know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Not complex.
Yeah.
What really gets to you about this film are the characters, right? Randall Mindy's journey into being like a family man and then like cheating on his lovely wife with a completely superficial Cate Blanchett's character, and then you know, kind of swaying to one side or another. And then we have Dibiasky, who's Jennifer Lawrence's character, and just the struggle that she has to put up with in regards to people consistently ridiculing her and denying her. And then Rob Morgan's Teddy Oglethorpe, which I thought like really tied everything together super duper well. Yeah. I think that's why he's my gold medal for me, and I think he's like such an underappreciated actor in the film, even though his wig looked awful.
I mean. Okay, so I am, now that I am scrolling through this, through all of our episodes, I can now say with confidence, yes, we have never reviewed something with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, which statistically is unlikely.
All right. So, okay. I wrote this note down, and I think it's one of the dumbest notes I've ever written in my life.
I'm excited.
Do we take Leo for granted?
Okay.
Because I'm watching Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm like, wait a second. This is like one of the best actors of our time, and like we all know that.
Yes.
You know,
But
we all
we're
know
kind of
that.
over it. We're like, yeah,
We've
he's
accepted
great.
it and moved on.
Right.
Why have we done that?
Right. That's a
And
good
and
question.
he's great in this film. Like, he doesn't do anything too crazy, but he's like completely honest and grounded in his character and grounded in his action and motivation, and just a wonderful physical exploration that he goes on throughout this film.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, what the fuck? That's Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. Well,
Have we seen him in so many good things that we're just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good?
yes, we have. And honestly, I can say the same about Meryl Streep. That
Yeah.
like, and it was so interesting to see people talk about Meryl Streep, like Jonah Hill whenever he talks about Meryl Streep, or whenever anyone else in interviews talks about Meryl Streep. That everyone says the same thing, which is she is consistently the most calming presence in the room, and like the most accepting, because she knows that acting's fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird, tricky thing to try, and to explore, like that. I think she might be one of the few actors in Hollywood, or one of the few film actors, that understands how important rehearsal is to an actor, and knows that it is a process. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And it's a process for everybody in the room, and it's like
Right.
a sort of collaborative experience that like we're all
Right.
sort of pushing towards.
for some reason, like every actor that I can think of that doesn't have copious experience in theater really seems to have this weird thing where they feel like they're supposed to like get it on the first take.
Yeah.
Or that it's supposed to just magically make sense. And it's
Even
like,
though, and in the case of this film, like a lot of, particularly the lines between Meryl Streep and Jonah Hill were like improvised lines, and it's just
Yeah.
something that they would just keep the camera rolling,
Right.
and just to see what sort of like shit sticks. But then what it allows also is like this breathing room for these characters of just pure unfiltered exploration.
Right.
And that is where the character work really happens. And so then when it finally reaches the big screen, then you have a fully realized and explored character that is completely in the body of those actors.
Right.
And then what it also becomes in turn is that since they've become more comfortable in those bodies, in those like sort of shells that they're wearing, they become a lot more generous with the action that they're throwing to their scene partners, and just like giving. And when I say generous, I mean like essentially giving like specific action, maybe specific lines, inclinations, intonations for the other person across from you to easily just respond to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, something as simple as like if I just like give you a wink right now, that'll like do something to your body immediately.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, because
Okay.
Ew.
So my shoulders up. Look at you.
just a little
The
whop, you know?
Dang, with that mustache.
Whop, whop.
How have we not talked about that on the show yet? We haven't even addressed that. You are mustachioed, and
Very loud shirt.
I fucking love this look.
Yeah,
though.
for our listening audience, it's just a bunch of colors and tessellations.
It's like a block shirt kind of,
Yeah.
but it's beautiful. You're just killing it today.
Thank you, baby.
Okay. Tell me if this is an experience that you can resonate with or understand. If I was to be in the cast of this movie, if I was to work with these actors,
Yeah.
and it was maybe my first time, or I was just stepping on set, I would feel comfortable with working with pretty much every single actor in this movie except Leonardo DiCaprio.
Why is that?
I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know. There's something like I don't think that I would be able to. I don't know. I just wouldn't feel like open
Okay.
and comfortable.
Wow. Look at you just expressing your own vulnerabilities. What's going
Yeah,
on here?
I don't know. But like, I know that if I saw Meryl Streep on set, of course I'd fangirl at first, but then I would get over it and just have a good time.
Yeah.
And definitely same with Jennifer Lawrence. Like I'm sure she's
I think it would happen with Mr. Leo. I think
I'm sure
you
would.
would get there.
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
reason that like, I think that's another thing that is not often talked about is that these actors that work all the damn time in Hollywood.
It's because people want to work with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not just the producers, but like
is they want to work and people want to work with them.
Right.
You know?
It's not that they're just like that good at self-generating. Like they're able to.
This
work
isn't
with
an
people.
Edward Norton scenario of nobody wants to work with him, and this isn't a Daniel Day-Lewis of he doesn't want to work all the time.
Right.
You know.
Right. Nice. Yeah, that was good. But like, yeah, like Edward Norton is obviously extremely talented.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just difficult to work through.
So from what we've heard.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know. We can call Eddie. I don't know.
A lot. There's also a lot of actors that are really really good self-generators and aren't like and don't really play in the space as much.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's interesting to see. I guess a movie chock full of actors that are clearly really good at being with the other people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it does kind of make me envious. Like it makes me want to work in that space.
Well, yeah. Like it was clearly they set a breeding ground for play.
Yeah.
And that's where the best work is cultivated.
Do you think that that's Adam McKay, or do you think that that's the actors?
Yes.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
at that level, I'm sure you could just give it to the actors.
But it's also like part of it with Adam McKay too is just like him never losing sight of the comedy that's at hand, of like understanding of like the story is going to carry itself, right? But what is important is just like the sort of vibrancy that's going on in the scene, right? Like there's still like tangible action that's happening, and if we commit ourselves to that with each other, then we're gonna get somewhere, you know. But we gotta believe in each other as well, and believe in each other that we're gonna get ourselves there. You know, like having confidence in the script as well and in the thing that you've written to really like push everyone to be like, don't worry about it, we got this. You know, which is, I imagine that conversation was not needed to be had for this film. Right. You know, but something as simple as like Mark Rylance's like Peter Ishmael, right? Who was the CEO of the phone company,
way
Bash,
too little talked about.
Who is like this weird sort of like pseudo mix between like tech guru and like Jordan Peterson, you know? And it is like super duper uncomfortable,
Jordan
and it's
Peterson.
just like it's so unsettling at the same time. But that is an element of just like, let's see what we can come up with.
That is the exact voice of Jordan Peterson. The second you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is very...
With those bright white veneers that he's carrying on the screen.
Weighing down his face. And honestly, really, really lovely touch whenever they all die, like on the new planet. That's really funny.
With the Bronterox, yeah.
I mean... Oh, yeah.
Actually, let's get into it. I'm surprised we actually haven't gotten there. Let's talk about the ending of this film.
Yeah.
That's so weird that we haven't gotten there. The fact that there isn't a satisfying ending, or rather, I shouldn't say satisfying, but rather hopeful or like happy ending. There's nothing quite happy about it at all.
Yeah.
What did you feel about the ending? Did you feel like it was...
It felt like it was intended. Like, I don't know. With the amount that the movie was... and I don't mean this in a bad way, but with the amount that the movie was preaching at me about climate change, or about the current state of things,
or just like trusting scientists in general,
right? It felt like was where it was going to end. You know what I mean? It felt like because there needed to be a call to action at the end of the movie, it needed to be something that was meant to jolt the audience and into action rather than make them feel bubbly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
But I wasn't shocked.
Yeah.
By any means.
I wasn't necessarily shocked either, and I think it was the right choice in the end, because I felt like then it also additionally put the idea into our heads of like appreciating the loved ones that are around us, and like the people that you love and the people that you cherish. Well, because it like the film was ending, and it left me with the thought of like, okay, if I found out the world was ending, who would I spend it with?
Yeah,
like, what would I do?
Absolutely.
You know? And because like the film ended like that, it forced me to like confront myself with that question, as opposed to just purely being taken on the ride of, okay, there's a comet coming, let's see if
well,
we can
they
stop
could have just like sat down the dinner table and the world blew up. but I'm really glad they had like a couple minutes of conversation.
And like as
mundane
everything
conversation.
is shaking, they're trying so desperately to talk about apple pie and coffee.
Yeah.
And with the improvised line,
Yeah.
let's just like this line was not in the script of Randall Mindy, Leonardo DiCaprio's character saying, "We really did have everything, didn't we?" That legitimately got like a couple of tears out of me.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, holy shit. Well, because like you're thinking the whole time in this film, this is just a satire, right? But then when you boil it down to its characters, and those characters had so much life and dreams and ambitions and ideals to them, and then them finally realizing the most important things in their lives were always just right next to them, was just like something that rocked me to my core.
Yeah.
Of like, if the movie was about that the entire time, then I don't think it would have succeeded. But because it was about, the satire and the big theme of like trust the educated people on a subject, that when all of a sudden it became about like loved ones and appreciating and taking the wins that you can get, like that was like, holy shit. Because it very much is that sort of thing of, we take everything for granted, and then it's too late. And for all them, in a way, it was too late, but at the same time, like they were able to experience their last moments together, which made a sort of tragically beautiful moment. And it's crazy to think that the film originally did not end in that fashion, but because of that one line, I feel like it changes the entire sort of outlook on the film.
Sure. So, we can agree that the movie did have a clear call to action.
Yeah.
Whenever the movie ended, right? It fades to black, and after everyone explodes, whatever. So, for you, what was whether you did it or not, what was the thing that you were inspired to do? I think that's might be my biggest critique.
I think just to be more aware, and like at the very least raise awareness, to be more attentive about sort of how information is consumed by others. Because like what really occurred to me also during that film, and then just like taking a look around per se, is that, oh shit, we are not comfortable with being wrong, like being wrong about anything. And even when there is something that's going on that like inconveniences us, we want to turn the other cheek, And so like that was like the call to action, at least for me, of like, okay, so how can I slowly break those things down and hopefully inspire this, like, albeit even if it's small, butterfly effect of like, if I can at least convince or persuade or just guide someone into, being more comfortable, that like it's okay to be wrong sometimes. That's perfectly fine. Like that's a victory for me.
Yeah.
Like I haven't in my heart of hearts received the call to action to do anything like big and large, but like I'm more aware rather of like, okay, I need to pay a lot more attention to like how we consume information and where information is coming from. And like 9 times out of 10, it's good to trust the people who are educated on a subject generally, right? Because like facts are facts, even when they inconvenience us. When they inconvenience us, that doesn't mean they're no longer facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there something in regards to you that like?
Well, I think that might have been the toughest part for me with thank God. 2-minute warning.
It's
folks.
a 2-minute warning. We've had a tough time with this episode.
Well, honestly, this has like slowly become one of my favorites. I'm gonna remember this one forever. This is hilarious to me.
At least it's good for us. This is like a bonding opportunity for us.
Fuck yeah!
And fuck
I feel
the
very
audience.
close. I feel very close to the moment.
hot dog duty.
I know I'm gonna cry in Outer Wilds.
Wow.
And I feel very comfortable now doing so. This is what I'm gonna say. My biggest gripe, I think, of the movie is that it didn't feel like a learn a lesson movie. It felt like a get your ass up and go do something kind of movie. And so it was frustrating to me that the ending was a learn a lesson ending.
I see.
I wish that like it felt like a movie where it faded to black and they would have given me like a number to call or like somewhere to donate or something.
I see.
Like that's what it felt like. And so it's kind of frustrating that it set itself up really, really well and then ended up just being like, just love your family. And I'm like, well, but I want to do something to help. You
I
know?
see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because there were so many specific problems they were referring to and they were talking about in the real world that I wish that it would have been. I wish that it would have been addressed in the ending.
That's totally fair. I mean, I still found this to be a very good film, even though we both had difficulty discussing it. It was a great time. It was a fun time. Pacing is odd, but I think it probably works out structurally to the movie's favor, I think. Funny, but because of the comedy, it lends to the tragedy even more. But that's also one of the things that I liked most about it is that, like, love your family. It's the sort of thing that's like really saying at the core, and it's before it's too late.
Right.
Mac, what are we going to do next time? What's your little ditty that you want to offer to the world?
Oh, well, I figured that I would announce it in a while.
No, but that's the next sleeper pick, you idiot!
Oh, fuck. We're going to do Repertoire by James K. Caster. That's it.
Feel